This morning, we're going to talk about the law of compounding and of investing, and specifically in the context of the art of connecting and personal and professional growth. So most people at least have a basic understanding of the law of compounding in finances. You take some amount of money, you invest it in something that pays interest. And then let's just say at the end of each year, you could look at that account and see that it's grown by some percent, 5%, 15%, 10%. And then the next year, not only does the initial invested amount, the principal, continue to gain interest, but the interest also gains interest. So you get interest on your interest. And in the first couple of years, if you looked at the growth line of that, it looks pretty flat. It's not all that interesting. But if you extend that timeline out long enough, it does a hockey stick, right? The growth starts to compound because you're growing and your growth is growing, and then your growth on the growth is growing, et cetera. But it does take time. Personal growth, professional growth is just like that. Yes, in a year, you can take a lot of ground. You really can. In your life as a person, as a professional in your business. But deep work, deep growth follows the law of compounding. It's about truly investing yourself, investing your time and your energy into something or some set of pathways that you can mine deeply. Like you could use dynamite to explode open a vein of some kind of ore or gold or whatever in the earth. And that can happen pretty quickly, but then mining all of that gold, mining all of that ore takes time. So you have to take the time to take the ore out of the mine shaft. And not only do you get to extract all that ore, but the process of mining itself, the daily work of going down there and digging and cleaning and saving and setting aside, that work itself is transformational. So personal growth, professional growth, I find work the same way. And people will often ask me, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do next. What's the right path? And that's where I find a lot of people get tripped up, is trying to answer that asking and then trying to answer the wrong question, which is what's the right path? I don't think it's possible to really, for most of us, to know that. I think what we can know and what we can act on is what's the right next move. That's a lot more accessible, because how you can find that is through emotional resonance, excitement, attraction. So oftentimes you may find excitement or attraction to pursue something that doesn't make logical sense to you, and it may not even wind up being something that's long-term on your path. My very first business, which I started back in 1997, the year my daughter was born, I started for the sole reason of wanting to be able to take my daughter to work. And I had that business for 5 years. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about myself, but ultimately learned, ultimately learned that I didn't really want the business as a business, but I love the opportunity of being in business. And so that particular journey ended after 5 years and taught me what I needed to learn. But it wasn't my ultimate path. It wasn't my ultimate business. But had I never done it, there's so many things I never would have learned. I felt an immediate attraction to opening that business. I felt excited about it. I felt confident about it even. I thought it would go a lot farther than it did. But it went exactly where it needed to go. So I think it's possible, in terms of this law of compounding, to be able to answer the question very decisively, not what's the right path for me, but what's the right next step for me? Where do I feel the most attraction? Where do I feel the most meaning? Where do I feel the most pull? And then invest deeply until it's time for the next thing. And for me, that first business, 1997, that was almost 30 years ago now. So I've been on this almost 30-year journey in learning the ins and outs of business, how I can use business as a conduit of connection, of spiritual growth, of contribution, of building wealth, making a social impact, and all these things. Communication, management, gosh, so many things, right? I have mined so much gold out of that vein, but it has taken time. So I'm inviting you all who are listening to really look first what you have already mined. If you look backwards retrospectively at the things you've invested yourself in for more than a year, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a topic of study in school, a sport, an instrument. Look at how many lessons you've learned that have nothing directly to do with the instrument or the field of study. If you're studying something deeply in school, maybe you've learned something about learning, or maybe you've learned something about the people who have cataloged and written about the topics that you're studying that applies to you as a human being or as a creator. There's so many things you learn when you mine something deeply, and it compounds over time. The longer you do it, the more you can mine from it. So I'm inviting you to take a long-term view of your growth and development and your unfolding as an incredible being. And just take the right next action and invest. Take the time, go deep, hang out there for a while, and trust the process. There's so much brilliance in you. It just needs time sometimes to fully unfold and reveal itself. Because every single one of you is beautiful beyond measure, is intelligent beyond belief. So give the law of compounding some time to let that open up and reveal itself, and trust yourself to know the answer to the question, what's the right next step for me? Whether it's going deeper in what you're on or making a change completely, you do know. Trust that. Trust yourself. I appreciate you. Have an incredible day.